Welcome to Financial Investing Radio, where you'll learn the secrets for consistent, high-probability returns in the financial markets for additional income to change your life. Grant applies consistent, high-probability trading systems for the financial markets. He's only recently started sharing these tried and true market secrets. As a gift to listeners, Grant is offering his roadmap to high-probability financial control. Go to financialinvestingradio.com and download yours today. Now, here's your host and trading veteran, Grant Larson.
Hey everybody, this is Grant. So thanks a lot for joining. You know, being able to execute on a plan is one of the main aspects of making financial decisions or making investment and trading decisions, making them work effectively. It turns out that this is easier said than done. And I imagine you've probably experienced that as well. So one time we were backpacking in the Rocky Mountains and we'd been out in the mountains for almost a week. We decided to take a day hike up to one of the nearby peaks. So we mapped out the trail and the route to get there, which meant that we had to cross a fast-moving deep stream. The stream was filled with a lot of runoff from the snowpack, and so turns out it was too wide to jump it, and it was too deep to walk across it. So I don't know that I'd call it a river, but it certainly wasn't a small stream. So there was a bridge that we'd found that was 2 miles back up the canyon where we'd come from. And after hiking for about a half mile, working our way back up to back up to that bridge, we got tired of hiking, and we found a location where the stream was not as wide. So our hopes were that we could get a run at it and jump across and maybe cover 3/4 of the stream, and then we would deal with swimming across the rest of it. So we abandoned our original plan and we took a run at the stream. Now there's some things that you should never do, and this is one of those, right? Don't do this. So what we didn't realize at the time was the stream was much deeper on the far side, so that when we landed in it, each of us went well under the water. And the water was very rough, moving very fast, and we were carried downstream a long ways, right? We're hitting rocks, we're hitting protruding trees and such. It was very, very foolish thing to do. Now, why did we do it, right? Well, why did we abandon our plan? Is it emotion? Is it laziness? Is it lack of patience? Maybe we feel like we're getting more accomplished when we make such decisions, right? Gratefully, no one died. But it could have turned out very poorly for us. Well, we often do similar things when we're making our financial and investing and trading plans, right? When we're perhaps planning to save money or to get out of debt or whatever our next financial goal is. And why do we abandon those plans at times? Well, sometimes we may have a justifiable reason, right? It's kind of like in that movie Up, that Disney movie. Did you ever see that? Where, you could see they're saving money. This is right at the very beginning in that vignette. You can see they're saving money, but then, the car gets a flat tire or the tree falls on the house or whatever. There are certainly unforeseen things that are justifiable. However, there are, of course, all those other times where it's not. What I've done is I've created a list of 10 things that I've noticed over the years that we do that negatively affects our financial activities or our investing or our trading. So I'm going to walk through each of these. All right, so here's number one. And it's not like these are in any special order. All right, so number one is not maintaining discipline. And the story that I shared was such an example, right? I didn't maintain discipline with the plan. Right, I abandoned it, at least not for any good justifiable reason. All right, so that's one of the ways that we hurt ourselves financially. Right, we might decide, now we are going to spend money on something that we don't really need. Right, and so that's number one. Or we do that with our trading or our investing. Right, we leave our trading plan or our investing plan, and we go purely on emotion. All right, number two is trading without a plan or investing without a plan or not having any sort of strategy or system or not understanding the overarching market context. What's going on around us to affect or influence our investing or our savings or our trading plan. That's the second thing that I've noticed that we do that negatively affects us. Number 3 is keeping an investment or trade or financial journal. What this is it's intended to keep track of when we make not only good decisions but bad decisions. What we're looking for are patterns, right? You know, what's the saying, right? If we're going to ignore history, then history is doomed to repeat itself, right? We have to be able to do that. We have to have the ability to say, I'm making these kinds of financial decisions or these types of trade entries or these types of financial decisions, and as a result, I'm having this sort of outcome or this effect. So we often don't do that. All right, that's number 3. Number 4, it's failing to adapt to changes going on around us in the market. So, okay, maybe we did buy something or we sold something and we learn out later the timing's not right. See, this gets core to a human problem, which is where we don't want to be wrong, right? And it comes down fundamentally to lots of times we don't want to focus on our weaknesses, on overcoming our weaknesses. We'd rather just go in, feel like we're doing some activities, make some investment or planning or financial or trading decisions, but then not have accountability for that and therefore not adapting and saying, oops, I made a mistake. That's number 4. Number 5 is where we learn through trial and error with our small capital. See, it's important, especially in investing and trading, don't be practicing with your capital. Now, there's a point to be doing that, but there's also a time and a place not to do that. All right. And so ultimately, there was one professional trader I worked with. He said, well, I hope you learn the lessons, before your money runs out. Right. And that's critical. So if you're going to go play with, real money, then, you're going to pay a high price. Number 6, having unrealistic expectations. So it turns out, if we start thinking, oh, well, we're going to make all this money and we're going to focus on all that and not really having realistic expectations of what to do with our money when it comes to investing and such, that actually ends up creating a problem, because then we lots of times will say, well, I'm not quite getting those expectations. So then we start making decisions that are more like gambling, right? And that's wrong. Number 7. It's where we have no focus. And what I mean by that is lots of times we'll be filled with distractions, that at the moment we're making these kinds of decisions, we may have a lot of noise going on around us. It could be physically within our house, or it could be, metaphorically within our lives at that moment. So the inability to focus, that is definitely a critical one. Number 8, poor risk management. This often happens when we focus too much on what we believe the earning potential is rather than focusing on controlling the risk, all right? So it's always think about making sure that I'm managing and I know what the risk is first before I make such an entry, right? Whether I'm investing or trading, make sure I have my risk pieces figured out. A lot of places where you go study and learn about making either investing or trading decisions will not spend as much time on this area. So you should spend a lot of time on this area. Number 9, it's a lack of awareness on how to manage the emotions of fear and greed. As you know, when things turn against us and we are unwilling to say, hey, I made a mistake, or hey, maybe I didn't make a mistake, but the market changed, or whatever it is. Lots of times fear comes in, and that literally narrows our ability to make good choices. I think a lot about pilots, right? And I think about all of the training that they do for those scenarios where something goes wrong, and you definitely have to try, practice this and be trained. Wasn't that Captain Soley that did that most amazing landing in the Hudson River years ago? I mean, he had clearly been training for that, right? Very impressive. All right, number 10, it's not having a good mentor. So sometimes we'll get education or training that will in fact not be conducive to helping us make good choices. All right, so those are the 10. All right, so it turns out that a lot of our financial activities has less to do with finances and more to do with self-mastery. And that's the key point of this, is we need to know ourselves. So going on the financial journey, whether it's where we're starting from, hey, how do I get a budget in place, to how do I save enough money, to how do I begin investing, to how do I ultimately trade more actively, all of that means that we have to know ourselves and know our personalities, levels of risks we can tolerate and handle, frequency in which we want to be in the markets, and so forth. We have to know ourselves, and don't be practicing with your real money until you're actually ready. All right, then. Thanks for joining, and until next time, stick with your good plan.
Thank you for joining Grant on Financial Investing Radio. Remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Don't forget to download your free roadmap to high probability financial control before you make an investment decision. Visit financialinvestingradio.com now.